Crunch has arrived, and this guy is like no other hero in Paragon. Having spent a couple of games playing Crunch and tinkering my build on stream and off it, I learned a lot, and this confirms some of the suspicions I already knew. Unlike an ADC or in fact a lot of other heroes, Crunch's build is not as important as his abilities. What I mean by this is, if you can build Crunch well or have something similar to my build, you can do good. But if you can learn all the intricate parts to Crunch's kit, then you can do amazingly. Crunch has the potential to do an insane amount of burst damage. He has the ability to frame cancel, which we'll talk more in depth about, and his ultimate shaves time off his abilities on cooldown, allowing him to continue dealing a load of damage. But before we look at all that, let's take a look at the build. I have two builds for Crunch depending on what type of damage the enemy ADC does. I'll go over my energy build and then I'll leave a link in the description below for both the builds, including my physical one. I start with the Warlord as my prime card, although the Centurion is a good choice as well. Next I have a health potion, double strike token, healer token, Empyrean Mask and blink charm. Now this deck I mainly use in the jungle, but you have a healer token if you are forced to solo lane. Next we have a Beastmaster key, but you can use any 3-cost key if you don't have one. Our cheaper Adamant Edge with 2 minor strikes and a lesser health. We then have an Amulet of the Veteran with 3 health. Next is our Brawler's Ward with 2 major strikes and an advanced mana. I find having the extra mana helps out a lot. I then throw in a Rust Breaker with 3 minor strikes, followed by a Tempered Plate with 3 minor guards. Our cheap Windcarver Blade is next with a minor strike and 2 minor kinetics. If you don't have this many minor cards, you can fill them with suitable alternatives or just skip them. The minor cards aren't a necessity, but they do help quite a bit. Our second Windcarver Blade has a major kinetic and 2 major strikes, followed by a Satori Cloak for that all-important armor shred. I put 2 Celestial Barriers in here, followed by a Divine Barrier. I start with a health potion and double strike token, throw in a Brawler's Ward next and my Beastmaster's key. If you do decide to lane, you can use the Empyrean Mask instead of the key and sell one of your strike tokens. Next I'll sell one of my strike tokens, throw in my cheap Adamant Edge, maxing that out, and then buy my Empyrean Mask. After that I sell my last strike token for my Rust Breaker, max that out and sell my health potion for my blink charm. I like blink charm especially for monoliths, so that's why I've included it in this build. Once I've got all the harvesters I need, I sell my Beastmaster's key for my cheap Windcarver Blade and max that out. Next I decide to max out my Brawler's Ward, but you can get armor or health if you need it. Once I've completed my Brawler's Ward, I sell my Empyrean Mask for my Tempered Plate. I take health next by switching out my Adamant Edge for my Amulet of the Veteran. Remember to take Satori Cloak when you need it. I didn't need it, so I sold my cheap Windcarver Blade and replaced it for my more expensive one. Finally, I sell my Rust Breaker for my Satori Cloak, and this completes the build. The final build looks like this. We have Satori with our energy armor, Amulet of the Veteran with our health, Windcarver Blade with a tiny amount of attack speed and damage, a cheap Tempered Plate, a Brawler's Ward with damage and mana, and finally our blink charm. Some cards that you might find useful but I haven't included them in this build are cards like Stone of Salvation, Radiant Mantle if you're laning against an Iggy, or maybe even Fountain Spike if you struggle with mana. Now we've looked at the build, let's take a more in-depth look at Crunch's kit and more specifically frame cancelling. So what is frame cancelling? You know, when you attack, there is basically 2 movements, the actual attack itself and then the recovery. For example, in Crunch's kit, that would be the punch as the attack, and then as the fists come back, that is the recovery. Frame cancelling, however, allows you to skip this recovery phase. The way it works is you would basic attack ability, and so on. This allows you to perform combos of moves a lot quicker than you normally would be able to. Watching this clip in slow-mo, you can see that as I basic attack, I use an ability, there is no recovery taking place. There is the punch and then the Q happens straight away. The same happens with all the other abilities. If you watch just the basic attack and then we spam his abilities, this takes considerably longer. You can shave around 2 seconds off his combo if you manage to successfully frame cancel, and 2 seconds is an incredible amount of time. I'd like to thank J Shreds for helping me out with this part, and if you'd like an even more in-depth guide to frame cancelling, check out his Reddit post, which I'll put a link to in the description below. Now frame cancelling is nothing new. It does exist for other heroes like Feng Mao, Grox, Howitzer. It's just more advantageous on crunch, and knowing how it works will definitely make you a better crunch player. On crunch, I focus my Q ability left crunch. This does the most damage and is great for clearing the jungle. Next I'll prioritize his E, right crunch, and the slow on his E is quite useful, so don't forget to use it in tricky situations. His ultimate shaves time off his ability, so leveling crunch is vital. Getting level 3 ultimate as quickly as possible is going to help you out a lot. The combo that does the most damage is E, Q, re-crunch. After your first 2 abilities, your re-crunch will be your Q ability, which will be empowered, giving you 25% bonus physical damage with a 70% cleave rating, so a fantastic amount of DPS. Remember though that if you need a knock up or some sort of CC, you want to ideally use your E or dash as your third ability so that they're empowered, providing you with that knock up or CC ability. Let's take a look at some gameplay before I leave you to do some of your own crunching. I'll usually start red buff and get the support to help me take it out. This allows us to clear the red buff quickly and gets level 2 faster. It's important that your support doesn't take any last hits. We'll hit level 2 once we complete this white camp, by which time our Murdoch should also be level 2 and we can come in for a gank. As we come in for the gank, our Murdoch is a little passive, but that's fine because he doesn't know the strategy. We manage to get steal and then it's time to invade the jungle. Ideally the support needs to come with you because of exactly this. The enemy crunch is here. If my support was with me, this would be an easy kill, and if we had killed Murdoch instead of steal, we would have gotten 3 or 4 kills. Thankfully, my team do rotate to help me and we take a favourable 3v4 fight. Steel is tanking most of the damage, allowing our gadget and myself to deal quite a bit. We manage to get the enemy crunch quite low and I take him out. Our gadget does secure the kill on Bellica, and if our Murdoch had rotated, we'd have gotten the enemy Murdoch quite easily and secured 4 kills. Unfortunately, we get only 3 and I die. That's something to be aware of. If you are Murdoch, you need to be looking out for those rotations, especially when your jungler is invading the enemy's jungle. If I invest time in the jungle, I make it my mission to at least get something more worthwhile, like a kill. Once I pick up red buff, I decide to head over to the right lane to gank. Traveling to the blue jungle is fine to farm, but with the red buff being quite powerful, you should try to take any engagement. My target in any gank should be the AD carry, so I go straight for the Murdoch, but I get minion blocked. And my team already have steal quite low, so I finish him off. I then set up the lane harvester. Your support and solo laner should really set up their harvesters, but if they don't have them, then you can set them up for them. Ideally, you want at least 1 lane harvester, both jungle harvesters and or prime. Had they already set up that harvester, I would have gone and invaded the enemy's jungle. I decide to do black buff because it's level 3 and my team are quite grouped up around it, but as I'm doing it, gadget gets caught out of position and the enemy take advantage. Steel and I head over. I wait for the Bellica mine to go off and then charge into battle. The enemy Steel ults me, but then my Steel ults him and Bellica, and I combo my abilities to kill Steel and then knock up Bellica so she can't escape, and I finish her off. This makes it a free tower for us, and with the black buff we'll be done in no time, but you can see just how much damage we do in such a short amount of time. This is thanks to our cheap cards and the Empyrean Mask. Here's another reason why I love Blink. Generation Hollow uses Blink on his crunch. I could charge, but I know he could charge and then recharge, so I decided to Blink as well. This does a few things. It stops him from entering travel mode, and 9 out of 10 times his ally will stay to help him, buying time for my team to come in. I fight crunch in the shadow pad, and because I'm an idiot, I use my right mouse button instead of his right punch, but thankfully my team are able to finish crunch off and we get a tier 2. Crunch is the hero that has to get in the enemy's face. He's annoying, but he's annoying to the point where you have to deal with him or he's going to kill someone. You want to try and jump onto the enemy's ADC and force him to use his escapes like Blink. Once he uses his Blink, your team can get off some ultimates like a Deca Cage or a Gadget ult to take him out. The point is, force the enemy team to deal with you so that the focus is away from your damage dealers and they can focus on what they do best, kill things. You won't get the most kills every game, but you'll contribute in a positive way that should help you win most of your games. I hope you guys found this building guide informative. If you did, smash that thumbs up button. Let me know in the comment section below what you think of Crunch and if you have any crazy builds for him. Until next time guys, peace.